world title in everyone's imagination. That's the heavyweight champ. You were here. Everyone else was here. But since then, the feeling has been Joshua makes all this money fighting anyway, 30 million pounds, whatever it is. Why should he take 40 or 50 to fight Wilder when he's making against anybody? He can make 30, 40 million pounds, whatever it is.
No fantasy contracts, just reality. You know, bringing our worth to the table and bargaining and negotiating what we're worth and making this fight happen.
Which mentality do you come in with? I ask because when you were slick, to me that looked like a better fighter. But maybe this is the kind of fight where you just need to impose your strength.
Anthony Joshua sat across from Max Kellerman with a calmness that almost felt dangerous, the kind of quiet confidence only a seasoned warrior carries. As the discussion unfolded, Joshua wasn't just breaking down game plans for the upcoming clash with Jake Paul. He was opening a window into the pressure, expectations, and legacy tied to a fight that has captured both hardcore boxing fans and the newer crossover crowd. Kellerman pushed for the truth beneath the headlines, and Joshua delivered. He spoke about the weight of representing the sport, the noise surrounding Jake Paul's rise, and the reasons he agreed to a matchup many never expected to see. Behind his measured tone, you could hear a man who understands exactly what's at stake, not just for him, but for the sport itself.
World or a heavyweight champion, you're an undefeated Olympic super heavyweight gold medalist, you're entering your physical prime, and you put 100,000 people in Wembley. So I get your argument. I have the economic clout. He's not coming in as partners. I should get a bigger slice of the pie. Let's have a realistic negotiation.
Max Kellerman, always a mix of sharp analysis and just the right amount of theatrical doubt, wasted no time cutting into the heart of the story. He pointed out what everyone's been thinking. This matchup doesn't look like anything the heavyweight division has ever seen. On one side, a former unified world champion. On the other, a YouTuber turned fighter who built his name online before ever stepping into a real ring. So why does this fight exist at all? It's the question that's echoed across social media, boxing gyms, and sports shows since the moment it was announced. And Kellerman dropped it directly in Joshua's lap. The answer Anthony gave didn't just explain his reasoning, it shifted the entire mood of the interview and set the tone for everything that followed.
Beat a guy like that, you're not gonna outbox him. If you're waiting on him and he's initiating and he's feinting you into counters and then he's countering.
When Kellerman pressed Joshua on what he genuinely respects about Jake Paul, Joshua didn't hesitate. His voice stayed steady, measured, almost impressed. He's brought a whole new audience into the sport, Joshua said, making it clear this wasn't empty praise. Despite Paul entering boxing without a single amateur bout and jumping straight into deep waters, Joshua gave him credit where it was due. He acknowledged that Paul willingly puts himself under intense pressure, stepping into challenges most fighters spend years preparing for Joshua. That fearlessness, that eagerness to test himself against real competition is Paul's strongest quality. And in Joshua's eyes, that enthusiasm doesn't just help Jake Paul, it helps the entire sport by pulling in fans who may have never cared about boxing until now.
Jake Paul, does he remind you of any guy that you fought before? Is this a unique situation that you've never come across?
Very unique situation I've never come across, but treating with the same respect that I give all my competition.
So you got the mental fortitude, he's got the mental fortitude. But what's the one best thing that you pride Jake Paul of having that maybe you haven't seen in other competition you faced so far?
From a physical aspect, I couldn't even mention it at the minute. But from a mental aspect, he offered me to fight. Normally, I'm offering people fights. He's told me, come and fight. So he believes in himself.
What does the word legacy mean to you, AJ?
Legacy, what does it mean? This is what I was actually asking someone. What does legacy mean? I don't even know.
The size gap between them has quickly become one of the biggest storylines surrounding this matchup. And for good reason. Jake Paul has always looked powerful in his own weight classes, but the moment he's seen beside Anthony Joshua, the difference feels almost unreal. It's a true David and Goliath visual. Joshua doesn't just stand taller, his entire frame tells the story of a man built for the heavyweight battlefield. Years of fighting giants, years of training at the highest level, years of carrying championship muscle. When the two appear side by side, the contrast is almost jarring. Even though Paul has added mass and clearly worked to bulk up, it's impossible to match the natural size, structure, and physical presence of a lifelong heavyweight. And that alone has fueled endless debate about how these two worlds can collide inside the same ring.
Jake Paul versus AJ, as though Jake Paul is the bigger in this equation. Not for me. Maybe for MVP, Nikisa, Jake Paul, but not for me. I've kind of marked it or titled it David versus Goliath just because of the size difference. Like, Jake Paul's a big guy. He is. He's 6'1", 220, probably fights around, the 200-pound mark. AJ is an enormous guy. Like, he's a big unit. And I think Jake realized that when they came face to face. I don't know if that's the first time they've ever come that close. I'm sure they've met behind the scenes, but I think there was a realization from Jake Paul, like, fuck, this is a big dude. This is a very big dude who isn't coming to play. Like, there was no play with AJ. That was a press conference that almost sounded like AJ versus someone in the top 10, where AJ's taking it seriously. He's answering the questions direct that Ariel's throwing him. There was no, yeah, we're here to kind of fuck around. This is going to be easy. Give me my money and let me run back to the UK. This was AJ's like, no, we're taking this seriously. And that ain't a good thing for Jake Paul. It isn't. And AJ's that guy anyway. Like, I would never doubt that AJ would take this seriously. But for Jake Paul, I do wonder if realization is kicking in, or maybe he is just that delusional where he doesn't care. I do, and I've been sort of corrected by a few people who maybe know better, but I do think the Americans don't credit or rate AJ. I do think there's a bit of that. I remember when AJ did the rounds prior to the Ruiz fight, and there were a few people like, yeah, you're not that.
Nikisa Badarian, the CEO of Most Valuable Promotions and the architect behind Jake Paul's rise, spoke with Sky Sports and made one thing clear. The December 19th showdown with Anthony Joshua isn't just a fight. It's being built as a global spectacle. Badarian admitted the experience gap is massive. Joshua has lived at championship level for years, while Paul is still learning the sport in real time. But he also pointed to something unusual: Jake Paul's unshakable, almost irrational self-belief. Badarian suggested that this delusional confidence might be the unpredictable ingredient that keeps the matchup intriguing. He even revealed a surprising detail. This fight wasn't supposed to happen yet. The original blueprint targeted 2026, but Jake Paul pushed hard, demanded it happen sooner, and negotiations were fast-tracked to make the clash a reality right now.
Will there be a limit for Joshua?
So there's a lot of discussion around the weight. Joshua fought Usyk twice. Both of those times, Usyk was 221 pounds. Joshua was 240 to 245. When Jake fought Mike Tyson last year, 227 pounds. I expect Jake will come in anywhere between 225 and 230, and Anthony Joshua has a weight limit of 245 pounds.
There will be those, as you're aware, that will look at it and criticise this fight. There already have been, haven't there? They'll say it's a real mismatch. What would you say to them? Are we going to be watching sport at its purest?
I would say it's much less of a mismatch than what you saw with AJ and Francis Ngannou, who a massive man, but relatively no boxing experience. I would say it's much less of a mismatch than AJ's 9th or 10th fight against guys who've been knocked out 20 to 25 times. Given AJ's pedigree, Jake is built for this. Jake is built for the big moments. So do I think it's dangerous for Jake Paul? Absolutely. Do I think it's also dangerous for
Nikisa Badarian, the CEO of Most Valuable Promotions and the architect behind Jake Paul's rise, spoke with Sky Sports and made one thing clear. The December 19th showdown with Anthony Joshua isn't just a fight. It's being built as a global spectacle. Badarian admitted the experience gap is massive. Joshua has lived at championship level for years, while Paul is still learning the sport in real time. But he also pointed to something unusual: Jake Paul's unshakable, almost irrational self-belief. But Darian suggested that this delusional confidence might be the unpredictable ingredient that keeps the matchup intriguing. He even revealed a surprising detail. This fight wasn't supposed to happen yet. The original blueprint targeted 2026, but Jake Paul pushed hard, demanded it happen sooner, and negotiations were fast-tracked to make the clash a reality right now.